she was like, I get that what you're trying to do, but you just haven't done it. She said, and this was funny too. She said, you know what you do? You write like an introvert. You think that people are hearing the thoughts that are going on in your head, but they're not invited to the party. And I thought that was profound.
Hello, everyone, everywhere. This is Bob Thibodeau with the Kingdom Crossroads podcast, and you are listening to the Going North podcast with my good friend DomBrightmon. Be sure to subscribe to his podcast so you will not miss any of the upcoming episodes, and be blessed in all that you do.
Today's episode is sponsored by yours truly, DomBrightmon's wonderful book, Stay the Course, The Elite Performer's 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success. Grab it on ebook, audiobook, or paperback book and share this gift to your friends, family, heck, even no matter what season it is, for that wonderful person in your life that needs to advance their next level in their career or just needs a quick pick-me-up to get through their day and beyond to thrival level. Now let's get on with the show. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous Just to Going North podcast. And we got another super special, awesome human for today, courtesy of Podmatch.com, where podcast guests have the chance to reach out to podcast hosts. And if they're cool, they're freaking in. And today's guest is in, baby, because he's a fellow bookcaster, y'all, as well as a child of the King, baby. That's right, indeed. So 3 thumbs up indeed. Because he's the founder of Abundant Encounters, an online ministry that helps Christians embrace an encounter lifestyle like Jesus Christ revealed to all of God's children. Indeed. So let's give it up for the JM himself, the joyful and merciful Joshua Marcengill. How you doing today, Josh?
Dom, thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here, man.
Oh, yeah. That's right, indeed. It's awesome to have you on, man. That's right, indeed. Abundant Encounters, where it's like, hey, not everything has to be a pot of gold and a leprechaun. It could be something else.
That's right. Hey, I'm Irish. That's a great joke, man.
That's right, indeed. That's right. No one usually sees it coming. Not even me. But hey, it ain't about a pot of gold and rainbows and occasional unicorns. It's about my man Josh. So since it's your first time on the podcast, mind filling us a bit about your backstory, now you got to where you are today?
Yeah, so little backstory is, I was like 27 when I got saved, which changed my life. And, I became a Christian. I was an atheist before that. So there's a lot of contrast there. I had a really crazy experience meeting with God, which I call an encounter. It was like undeniable open vision. As an atheist, the atheist side of me, I really thought I was just having schizophrenia or something like that. But eventually everything just started to really connect, and I just started to realize, wow, God is real. And so anyway, about 13 years later or something, I end up writing a book, and love writing. I've always loved writing. So, but it really was to encapsulate a lot of these experiences that I had meeting with God, realizing that he was real, and that, there was this exciting side of Christianity that I just hadn't heard enough about, that you could actually engage and have a relationship with God. And probably people told me about it, but I didn't have ears that would hear it, so it to me, it's a wonderful book. I'll just say that, because I just kind of try to grab all those pieces that made it real, like Christianity is awesome, but as a religion, I'm not really all that interested. As a relationship with God and with Jesus and Holy Spirit, very interested, and sign me up.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed, and you're so right, indeed. And that maybe even have some folks maybe a little bit new to the whole religion. It's like, oh yeah, Christianity is my jam and jelly and marmalade too, but it's like the whole religion part of it, it's like, nah, man. So mind sharing a bit on the difference so folks will get that part right, for those who may be new to the faith or may be skeptical about the whole Christian thing.
Sure. Well, yeah. So I was had a master's in international business administration as an atheist. Then I got saved and came into the kingdom and kind of felt like, oh, well, what did I do that for? But anyway, I kind of unlearned some things, so just kind of in the spirit of like that whole contrast of these two things, like, that we share a lot more than we have in difference with every human being, no matter where you're at. So, the divisive version of Christianity is kind of out. Let's get that out of here. Let's bring people in. There's so many things that we can teach each other. And God can do the work of salvation and things like that. So that's not my job. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to love people and do the best I can to serve people in the spirit, in the way that I've been given. I've been given so much. I mean, it's just wild. Like, the grace and forgiveness that I've received is amazing. So it positions me to be able to give that away.
Yeah, I definitely say that again. It's like, oh yeah. It's like, oh yeah, one day it's like atheist, like, yeah, God ain't real, y'all. That's right indeed. Yeah, I'm about to tell you all the truth. He ain't real. Then, like, oh, you're like Paul on his way to Damascus. Like, darn, it's blinding. Dang it. All right, I've been changed. I was a freaking idiot.
That's right. That was definitely like that. I was like, wow, I really got into my soapbox here, and I'm standing up here letting people know and trying to make people feel bad about even being Christian. And then, here I am having this experience. And it's actually hilarious. I mean, but thank God for God. He's really funny, actually.
Oh yeah, I can say that again. That's like one of the biggest things like to bring up to people. It's like, hey, we're made in the image of God, and
That's
he
right.
has a sense of humor. He has a great
He
sense of
has a
humor.
sense of humor.
It's like, hey, if you're a Christian without a sense of humor, you got to get checked out, my friend.
Well, they got lemon face Christianity, they're all stern all the time, and like judgmental, looking down at everybody. No more lemon face Christianity. Let's get that out of here.
There you go. That LFC, that lemon-faced
There you
Christianity.
go.
That's right, indeed. Or play on a popular term, the resting belief face.
There you go. You're killing me, man.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Probably the reason why it's like, oh yeah, Christ is cool, but the fan base, man, like they not a fan of him.
Sometimes,
Yes, indeed. So my goodness, so speaking of fans, you got fanned over to become a wonderful author and join the business of immortality by writing a book. So my goodness,
Oh, wow.
abundant encounter. Like, did you like have a bunch of encounters and decide to journal them? Like, what led you to finally write a book, my man?
Okay, so yeah, like, I realized God was real. As I was reading the scriptures, I realized that I felt like a connection to the characters rather than, and for me, these moments that I was having with them were confirming that, wow, God is like these are people I can understand and I can connect with, and it feels like family. I mean, thousands of years in between us, but I'm like, he was thinking what I'm thinking now, and like, and it was just different. I just didn't see it like as I was just trying to finish reading the Bible or something like that. And I began to see how easy it was to experience God regularly, which is a difference maker. I mean, reading about somebody and meeting somebody, totally different things. So I felt like for me, I'd love to give that away, and so that's what I attempted to do. I put together some of the biggest, craziest experiences that I had. I do see things visually sometimes, which I don't care if it is schizophrenia. It actually connects me to God. I'll just say I don't know what it is, but sometimes I'll see things visually, and I get that it sounds crazy, but I want to talk about it in a level-headed, sober way that people can connect to, so they can see why it matters to me, because it has increased my ability to be able to connect with God and understand Him. I'm not always looking at it, but sometimes it just kind of comes in. It's like a daydream, but it's very vivid, very available. I can see, things, I can kind of tune into them almost like a windshield on your car. You can look at the windshield or you can look at the road. And so that's the kind of experiences that I'm kind of having. They're not, that's not the limit though. Anything that I've experienced where I knew God was real, is relevant. And the thing is when we start to see that, we can dig into it a little bit and begin to steward it even. And as we become a steward of those experiences, more and more experiences start to come. And so we stop doing life alone and we start having what the Bible calls a father, our heavenly Father. We get to actually experience life with him instead of like, Emmanuel actually means God with us. So, we're experiencing it with him. So that's what the book's really about. I had an awesome journey writing this book. And for Christian, authors out there, potential authors, I would just say, do it for sure. Put all your heart into it. I really enjoyed the process too, and I felt invited into that process. And I didn't have a lot of time. I worked a full-time job, and I was, had a social life and everything. And but I still managed to do it because I just took a little bit of time every morning to do it. And it was powerful. Every time I sat down to write, I engaged with my faith, and so it was like this little partnership as I was doing that, and everything was going well. And maybe some of your listeners would identify with this too, but until I got to my editor, and she kind of said, "What is this?" I had written like almost like 3 books basically, and sent it off to her like she was going to be like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever," and and she was like, "Wait a minute, you sent this to a real editor, and what you've done is crap. This is never going to be a good book. You need to just give this up." I mean, she was brutally honest, which I really appreciated. She was a friend I had met at church, and she's a great author herself. But she laid into me. She didn't hold back at all. She kind of just said, "You know what?" And we went back and forth for several months. And I mean, I had to convince her that it was going to be a good book. And eventually I had to like basically just throw out what I had originally written and write the whole thing again so that it actually would appeal to the audience that I wanted it to. So she was amazing in that process. You have to have an editor. That's all I'm trying to say. You need a good editor to be able to write a good book. But now it's like a book that I've read several times, and I actually still like it. So I'm like, okay, the first one, I don't even know if I would have read it if I was honest. It was just dribble, like a really long dribble. And but when I got with that editor and went through that process, it came out to be something that I'm super proud of.
That's good indeed. Yep. It's right indeed. It's like you walked up and had this whole darn caravan of goods. It's like, yeah, baby. Time to start a bodega selling everything, all this junk for no reason.
That's right.
They're like, hey, wait a second. Why you got all this junk? Like, you seem like you have the most incense here more than anything else. Why the heck do you have miniature figurines? Like, cut this out.
Yeah.
Just sell incense.
Yeah. Cut. It's rough, man. It's rough on your ego and stuff. Like, wait a minute, I tried really hard to do this. Are you serious? You don't like it? There's nothing good about it. I sent those emails back to her because she was in Africa. She's a missionary, so we were emailing back and forth and stuff. And I was like, yeah, there's got to be something good in here. You can't be telling me that the whole thing is, And she was like, I get that what you're trying to do, but you just haven't done it. She said, and this was funny too. She said, you know what you do? You write like an introvert. You think that people are hearing the thoughts that are going on in your head, but they're not invited to the party. And I thought that was profound. I was like, man, I get it now. Because I'm a total introvert. So she just nailed it, and I was like, okay, I really have to develop these ideas and stuff. And harsh process.
Yeah, that introvert thing is real. It's like, oh yeah, people are stupid or are smart. Like, they can understand what the heck I'm saying. They know exactly what I'm thinking. I'm sure they're thinking the same thing. It's like, no, they're not.
That's right. Nope. You gotta leave a crumb trail, like or something to help them get to the places that you've been. But yeah, learn the hard way.
Yeah, man, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. So, my man was able, with the help of his editor, trim the fat to get to one fabulous book that's even published in multiple languages, too, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
That's
That's what
right.
I'm
It's
talking about.
in Spanish. Thank you for pointing that out. And I had a friend in Colombia that just decided she wanted to do that for me. It's an amazing gift, and she just translated the whole thing. So yeah, that's available. Both of them are available on Amazon. Easiest way to find them, Joshua Marcengill. Encounters is it's a popular name for a book, and I didn't know that going in. So, but anyway, so if you want to find it, you'll have to spell out my name.
There you go, that's what I'm talking about indeed. So, how's that process, publishing a book in Espanol? Heck, let alone in different languages.
I mean, I don't speak Spanish, so I kind of have to trust the translator a little bit. But I did attempt to market in Spanish, which was fun because I had to do little videos and stuff, and kind of try to read a script in Spanish, which I'm sure was hilarious to the recipients. Because of the fear and confusion that was probably evident on my face the whole time. But yeah, that was definitely something I would recommend. And but yeah, I just kind of lucked up with that. I wouldn't know how you'd go about it, traditionally, but I just had a friend that cared and really liked the book and wanted to translate it. So that's how that worked out for me. Church, man, you got to go to church, meet people from all over the place that want to help out and stuff, and get a little family going. People believe in you and they try to support you. That's the right kind of church. Some churches aren't like that at all.
Yep. So, indeed, definitely can say that again. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Funny, at the time of this recording, episode went out with Jeff Elkins, where we actually mentioned the whole church hurt thing, and he himself was a
Oh,
pastor for I think about good 10 years or whatnot. And it's like you come in thinking one thing, and then it's like, oh no, like a whole deacon board or a board of directors if it's a church designed like a nonprofit organization. And it's like you
yeah.
got to answer to stakeholders and everything. It's like, oh God, are we supposed to be doing this? Like getting out and just helping people? And it's like, no, we must have red tape for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's some red tape in the church. And, it's like we try to copy the corporate design for ministry, and sometimes we got to flip that upside down. It's go out and help people, man. It's if our organization doesn't help people, then I don't know. I mean, some of the people inside the church being helped, I think that's valuable too. But yeah, church is an outreach.
Heck yeah, that's right. Indeed, you got to reach out indeed. And speaking of reaching out, my man's actually started an organization, ministry to help out folks in multiple ways where your business degree actually paid off because you get to help Christians get that business entrepreneurial mindset.
That's right. Yeah, we do financial sozos, and if I could unfold that for a minute, the word sozo is a Greek word that we see in the Bible, and it means all three: saved, healed, and delivered. So it's all three of those words, and sometimes you'll just see one of those in the translated version. So you'll see someone just got saved, but did they get saved, or did they get saved, healed, and delivered? All three of them. So in a financial sozo, it's not exactly counseling, but it's a facilitated prayer where you help people communicate with God about their finances. And for a lot of people, that is a shocking revelation because they did not understand that God was even interested in their finances. They may have held some shame about how they felt about finances and never would want to talk to God about what they've done. I mean, like all kinds of different things. So if you kind of get in there and, it's just amazing to watch people get that aha moment where it's just like, oh, I can see this. I understand. Like, so the Bible's real clear. It says God is our provider. And so money can be this really terrible experience for a lot of us, rich and poor, doesn't matter. You can be either side of the extreme or somewhere in the middle, and you can end up just feeling like you're a slave to this thing, like you got to serve it, and like there's no way out. And if you don't do this or do that, then then you won't be able to provide, and those kind of things. And what it feels like there's just two options. It just feels like there's this either I'm going to be poor and fighting for money, like I'm stuck and like I've got to protect my money and I can't, let anybody have it because, or anything like that. And you get this, tight grip on it. And either one of those, they're both illusions and they push against each other as if they were the only thing. And most of us are having that experience. But the Bible's really helpful in that, just letting us know that we have a purpose. And so the purpose just goes right in between both of those. It's a bit uncomfortable, but there's no ruts to sit in. It's the road less traveled. It's and it can be really it can feel really like you're crazy sometimes, and kind of going against the flow in places. But truthfully, it is your flow, and there's favor on it and you can feel it. And now you're again like in that partnership that I feel like is so important for all of us, whether we have faith or not. But we need connection. We need that connection so that we're not doing our life alone, because that's just, we're only here on this planet for a short time. So getting free of that and being able to do life with each other the way we were designed. Yeah, we're people need people. And people always talk about this God-shaped hole. You got a people-shaped hole too, and you were designed to need other people. And so if you're trying to shut that down or act like it's not there, it's going to be painful because you're going to have all these needs that aren't getting met all the time. You're just going to be so. So in a large way, having these moments of connection with God can kind of fill that God-shaped hole, but also heal you up enough so that you can start to reimagine what it's going to be like to do life with other people, not from a place of like manipulation or like fear, or that you're trying to collect people, or you got to have either the right people or whatever, but like more of a place of like like, wow, we can serve each other, and this is a needs-based relationship, and those things are really helpful and make life so much more fun and just good, good times. This life is too short not to have good times.
Boom. That's what I'm talking about. Indeed, life is too short to not have good times. Indeed, that's right. Indeed, that's right. Indeed, so true. Indeed, and powerful stuff you mentioned there, because God does care about your finances. Because it's really in a way managing your life. Because heck, even I'm sure you're familiar with the whole Russell Conwell speech/story Acres of Diamonds, where it's like, hey, with those spiritual folks, like the Bibles you read, the church you're in, the pews you're sitting in, it's all because, say, someone paid for it. And it may
Yeah, we like to think that we're like sitting in, yeah, anyway, that's a great point. Oh goodness.
Yes indeed, yes indeed. So my goodness, so I guess would that be like the biggest block that a lot of Christians have when it comes to finances, or is it some kind of other mental block that you have to clear usually with the financial sozo
Mhm.
piece of your ministry?
If you learn to talk to God in your finances, the other stuff will straighten out. It really is the start. Like I love Dave Ramsey and highly recommend. He's a kind of a common guru out there. And just for example, and I love his stuff. He's got some great approaches, uh, and so would recommend people to do that. It's almost like a financial sozo is a good place to kind of reset and get that adjustment that you need, so that you're looking at money the right way, so that it's not this thing that you're serving, but it's serving you. And that's what it was designed to do. Money is a tool. It is not the thing that my life is about. If that has become what life is, then you need to readjust. You need that reset so bad. And if you don't get it from me, don't worry about it. Get it anywhere you can, because that's really not a way to live. You just don't need to live like that, because money doesn't, what I mean? It's a terrible, terrible master. I hate to say it that way, but it really is. It's like a slave master. But it's a great servant, and it was created to serve you, serve your family, serve you in your life, and not be a source of constant pain, but just a tool. And it can be that again. If you've never experienced that, I totally understand, because I was there. I grew up poor, and I got a master's in business. Really thought I knew what I was talking about with money, but I didn't know anything because I didn't have it in the right position. I wasn't in the right position. So it's a real sad story. But then it becomes a good story, because it's like, man, I just figured out that this thing, I just repositioned it. And so the way I see it now is like, how can you help me to achieve the things that I feel called to, rather than, how can I get more so that I can do this? Or I can see it like in that this is what I have. So that's going to tell me a little bit about what I can accomplish today. Not worry about tomorrow, but what am I doing today? So if I don't have enough or something like that, it's not a statement about my life. It's a statement about the current position I'm in, that I can, that I can move out from. So having that spiritual kind of connection, soul health about yourself when it comes to money is something that I would recommend grabbing a hold of first, especially if you're ready to make that shift into having a healthy life in your finances.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That shift and that repositioning. That's right, indeed. It's kind of funny how things work when you make a position switch. It's like, oh yeah. It's like, man, I've been meaning to be in this spot this whole time. I was working
That's
in the
right.
wrong area. It's like, wasn't
Turn
operating in the
around.
gift.
Well, yeah, sometimes it feels like that. Just turn around, man. You're looking the wrong way. You know, like playing football or something, running down after the wrong goal.
That's right,
Yeah,
indeed. End up getting a safety for no reason.
that's right.
So, my goodness, man, since you've been on a few podcasts promoting the work that you're doing, helping out the masses and the molasses, is there a question that you wish folks would ask you more often when you're on these podcasts?
Oh, that's a good one. I think just how can I have more encounters? That's kind of my thing. It's just that's what I'm about. I want to talk more about that all the time. So it's just a pleasant conversation for me.
So, how do folks have more encounters with Christ, my man?
Acknowledge that you've probably had some in your past. Any of those moments where you just felt like God was real. I mean, a typical example for is a car accident or a near miss or something that you survived, and you're just like, wow, I don't know how that worked, but somehow I'm still alive. Like, don't be so quick to dismiss it. Yeah, it might be dismissible. It's true. It might be, but if you're not so quick to dismiss it and try to push it away and start to kind of recall some of those things, you might catch a hold of the consistent theme that God has already presented to you. He's already real for you, and he's already real to all of us, because if he's not real, then he's not real, period. If Jesus didn't pay it all, he didn't pay enough. So it's not like some of us are excluded from this thing. So he's either real or he isn't. And that's coming from that contrast of atheist and becoming a Christian. Like, man, he became the realest thing that there was for me. But it was after I started to acknowledge that, wow, I just don't know everything, and I don't need to. Like, I can be taught. I don't have to pretend or hide, which a little bit of both of those things were going on. I was hiding and pretending, and but yeah, and then just knowing that is going to really empower your life to have more purpose and to feel like you're more connected, which that's more valuable than any amount of money. It really is. And you'll know that if you go to third world countries and you see people. I mean, here in America, people they look at money funny, but you go to some really poor places and you'll be like, oh wow, you have so much joy. Like, I'm jealous of you. And but anyway, that's what you get when you start to feel like connected to who God is. So, great question. Thanks.
Hey, my pleasure indeed. And you're so right indeed. It's like, hey, encounters, like, think back, it's like, oh, those near-death experiences and times where you almost crashed your car, heck, maybe even dodged something out of nowhere, and heck, even
That's right.
first world problems where it's like, oh, funny enough, listening to a Joel Osteen tape as a motivation. I listen to him more for motivation, inspiration, as opposed to like biblical scholarly work. Like if you're looking to him for biblical scholar work, then you're in the wrong area. but
He's
but
doing one thing really well.
yeah, exactly. Like
Encourager.
he's the encourager out. Like he knows his lane, he stays in and does it really
That's
well.
right.
And
That's right.
yeah, I think it was the Breakout audiobook where it's like, oh yeah, my sandwich, like they messed up my sandwich order, and like my car wouldn't start. Well, it's like, hey, well, the sandwich you had at first, like that was made by somebody who was sick and should have never been in the kitchen, and
Wow.
when you had it sent back, someone else made it who wasn't sick, and it's like your car wouldn't start that morning because a drunk driver would have crashed, probably into you, probably would have got stuck in that traffic that day. So everything works out to your good, whether you believe it or not.
Right. That's right. Come on. Good stuff,
Yeah.
Tom.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, and speaking of good stuff and sandwiches, if your wonderful book was a food, what would it be and why?
Oh man, it would be desserts, because there's no more desert seasons. Okay, this is gonna be funny for writers only.
Yeah.
No more desert seasons. It's dessert season. Come on, come on in. There's a party going on. Have your dessert.
That's right. This book will help you to have your cake and eat it too.
That's right. Come on.
That's right, indeed. I know I get a corn cob out of them.
Oh man, that was a total dad joke, but great.
Hey, that's the best export of this podcast. That's the dad jokes.
Yeah, man.
That's right, babe. That's right, indeed. It's the desert buffet, indeed. That's right, the DB. That's right, indeed. If you want cheese and get some cheesecake, we got you covered. That's right, indeed. Cinnamon roll. That's right, indeed. You want some pie, we got you covered. That's right,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah.
It's easy as apple pie or sweet potato if you prefer. Oh, man. Oh, man. So, my goodness, got two more questions for you, then you can make a run for it. So, my goodness, man, you had this wonderful encounter with Christ that led you to drop the whole act of atheism and come to the realness of God, man, and had this business background indeed and had all these encounters. So, what would you consider your biggest setback that actually became your biggest setup for success?
Oh man, so yeah, back in 2007 was when I graduated. I became a Christian, and because I was already in business and I was working at a big leadership organization, and I kind of I was at the top of my game. I was like living in downtown San Diego, everything, and just things were amazing, and had nice ride, and all that kind of stuff, and the life I thought I wanted. But it's like really empty inside, pretty miserable, and that was kind of the atheist. But even after that, even after I became a Christian, this really powerful thing happened. I got into a business that was a nonprofit organization. Too long a story to tell you how I got there, but once I'm there, I'm thinking everything's gonna work out, and it didn't. I mean, it didn't, and we were doing so good at first, so I thought for sure, this is the way it works. I'm like, oh, now that I'm a Christian, everything's gonna work out and everything's gonna be great and I'm gonna have favor on everything. That is not what happened. We did so well, and then all of a sudden this crash came, and then our company got all our money swallowed up, kind of by the by the beast in a way, and so that landed me on my butt for a little while, just to say, and some friends took me in, and so I experienced some temporary homelessness because I just tried so hard to keep going on this idea that this is the way it worked, and I was so so wrong. And that was a real hard time, but it turned out to teach me some of the best lessons about life I'd ever seen. Like I mean, and that was really where things started to kind of the rubber hit the road on, if I don't try to start doing life with the intention of relationship, then I'm going to get really lost because, when you get all this education and stuff, you think you don't know nothing, maybe there's a lot of people that get lucky out there and stuff like that, but I would highly recommend people do the best they can to admit that, you know, that's just not what it's about. Those are also tools. Education is a tool, but it's not the thing that makes you. It's not your identity.
True indeed. True indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Where the rubber hits the road. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. With all them lessons learned, that reality be hitting hard too. That's
Oh,
right indeed.
man. Don't wish it on your worst enemy, man.
Funny enough, actually reminded me of my Sunday school teacher one time, where said he was praying for a friend to become a Christian. They get his life saved for so long, because it's like, yeah, he thinks it'll be all good. Of course, he was just smiling and half joking the whole time, but it's like, yeah, because he was going through his own rough time. It's like, oh yeah, the Christian life, it's rough. It's abundant, it's joyful, and there's roughness too.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah, sugar and rainbows, yeah. Maybe 5% of it. It's not 100% of it. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness, coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive. And that is, if you wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2022, what advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah, I think be you, don't look to be somebody else. All this pretending doesn't have anything to do with who you are. Be vulnerable. Gosh, I mean, like vulnerability is one of the most helpful things that you can do. Share your story. Um, you know, uh, just don't pretend. That's that whole fig leaf thing. Adam had a fig leaf and he tried to cover it up. We're still trying to do that, but come out of hiding because, you're actually a lot safer than you think. And who you are really matters to this world. And it's the only thing that really matters. So, yeah, I would, man, I would love to say that to my 25-year-old self because I was so lost and in so much pain, so that would have been awesome.
Well, you have it, folks. That's right, indeed. That's right. Leave the fig leaves on the trees, y'all. That's right. Be yourself.
leave, leave that alone, man. get naked. Go ahead. In the best way. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So that's some good stuff right there, indeed. A lot of pretenders out there. A lot of pretenders. Some say fake it till you make it. Well, they haven't got to the make it part yet.
Ooh, it's too hard to do. It's so heavy, Just let that go. Let it go.
Yeah, that's right, indeed. With all the frozen snowmen. That's right, let it go. That's right,
Let it
indeed.
go. Let it go. Okay, I'm not gonna sing. That would be bad.
Well, come on, man. Don't let it go. Come on. Oh, man. Well, it ain't about Snowman. It's about my man, the Mighty Josh. She's doing some good work in the world indeed. So for those who need to keep up with your journey, what's the best way for folks to do so, my man?
Well, first, I just want to give a shout out to my friend Sherry Lewis. She's my editor. She's amazing. If you need an editor, which I highly recommend, as before, you need to check her out. It's Sherry with an S and an I, Lewis.com and SherryLewis.com, and she's amazing. Go connect with her. She's got some great books you can read as well. But anyway, if you want to know more about me, I would so appreciate it. You want to get a financial sozo, you want to jump in and learn more about it, encountering the reality of God, connect with me at abundantencounters.com. We also have a weekly podcast we release on Sunday mornings that is it's just a facilitation. So it's like what I call Christian meditation. Meditation isn't a weird thing. It's in the Bible a lot more than you might believe. And the best meditator in the Bible was David. Psalms 19. You can go look that up. And it's an excellent experience, and just the way he teaches us how to meditate. But yeah, so that podcast will help you kind of just connect. There's music in the background, and we read some scripture, and then we walk you through an activation, and you just might have a real encounter with God just listening to that on any given Sunday. So that's called Abundant Encounters. Go find that, yesterday. And there's a book that I would love for you to grab. It's called Encounters, Pressing into Your Abundant Heavenly Supply. It's true. There is abundance in this life. God is a God of abundance. He's not a God of deprivation. He has so much for us to experience in this life. And he's looking at what you're missing right now. There's something that he wants to give to you at all times. So it's in the day that you're in. There's just so much that God has for us. So anyway, that's abundantencounters.com is the main hub for all of that. Go check it out.
We heard it from LL Cool J himself. Any given Sunday, baby.
That's right.
That's right, indeed. That deprivation, shut it down. That's right, indeed. It's about that abundance, y'all. Them abundant encounters. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. That activation, y'all. That's right, indeed. Press on that light switch. Turn it on. That's right, indeed. Go from 0 to 1. Get the binary swag, indeed. Nothing but ones, no zeros.
It's a dessert season, man. Go get your dessert. Anyway, I'm just gonna.
It's your dessert season, baby. There you go. Oh, that sounds like a fun book idea right there. It's your dessert season. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Cream rise to the chop and it will meet the cherry. That's right. Be the cherry in the land of cakes. I have no idea. Well, we'll see. Before we go deeper in that rabbit hole, any parting words before we close up shop?
Well, bless everybody that's listening to me, kind of go on about all this stuff. And I pray that you'd be blessed and that you experience God today.
How's it going, my friend? I'm so glad you made it to the end. That shows that you are an uncommon finisher, and I am so grateful for you sharing your ears, your attention, and your time to this wonderful podcast to do something that'll take yourself to the next level. And for everybody else involved in this wonderful program, share it with at least 3 people in your network so that way more folks can not only catch the fire that is on this podcast, but can also be inspired to be their best.